Step on Voice. For the second season, I started with some topics that, in my experience, are something of overlooked or not so well understood. I asked on my Instagram, what do we imagine it is the development of a voice? Some said the extension, some said the neurological skills, meaning the cognitive and the neurological output correct to have what it requires to sing or to have the control of the voice. Some others told me it means to have more capacities into it. I asked, is it a tissue thing? And basically nobody said yes. And this is my specialty, my specific, how can I say, field of not only research but application, that I'm bridging with some science, because in knowledge we are doing that. Without science we are lost, as we know. So I wanted to talk about a couple of points today. And again, this year I will give you some paths of practice, some perspective on techniques and practical, but very often I will leave you with more questions than answers. And this why? Because science basically, and a lot of knowledge, is about putting better the question we are asking about. Sometimes we think we have the answers. I doubt. We can have an answer that happens to be correct, but it's not usually the answer. It points to better understand the path on which we can move. The thing I wanted to, the first was, why a system that cannot have some functions is perceived as not skilled. Also said, you cannot say the difference from a not trained and totally unskilled singer and a highly skilled one with a functional impairment. This I have to say, some of you probably have not the experience of that. In my studio I have the experience of that all the time. All the time means that I will present 3 cases at the Weiss Foundation Symposium this year, in which I exactly show this. Very often for voice, now, we think that a voice that functions and sounds well is a highly skilled voice. Also said, we deny that a highly skilled voice cannot show those skills for some reason, some mechanical reason, some biomechanical reason. There it is the question of the tissues. If you want to fail to do some races with a car, you will both work on the driving skills and the car. In all the many books of the past you find, and I've repeated that so many times that probably if you have heard, you say, okay, she's telling again one other time this thing. Yes, I'm telling again one other time this thing. That is, we can work on the car. In the past we couldn't. And in the books you found how to detect a car that was worth working on. So the thing was that the development was the development of a good functioning car into what? Cognitive and neurological skills. Second, the adaptations of the training on the system, meaning on the voice. They were not able to detect some functionalities not being present as something that we could solve so well that we had not to deal with them in that impaired state and perceived unskilled state forever. Last series, last year, we did what? We started with biological ingredients, anatomical ones. Do you remember how many systems the voice is made of? I will not repeat, I will repeat next week. Next week I will repeat that. But just to say, the tissue of the lungs, has it some muscles? Yes. It has smooth muscle. Smooth muscles are the same kind of fibers we have into the bowel, the intestines, as I hope I'm pronounced correctly. And they give the bowel movement, that is the peristalsis. Smooth muscles have a specific way of creating force and movement. They create a wave of movement. So, are the lungs part of our vocal system? Let's back to at least the shorts. If the lungs are part, can we use the smooth muscles of the lungs for singing? I hope so, I think so. Get back in my other YouTube and look at the tutorial Soffietti. And I will ask you a little play, and if you want to comment down, try to do Soffietti, which are round. The air comes out not as a straight flow, but as a round flow from the basis, the root of the tongue, the back of the tongue if you want. The part that becomes visceral. Yes, the tongue has the first two parts which are under usual skeletal muscle system and muscles control, as we know it, as your arm when you do that. The back of the tongue, it has neurologically the visceral control. Are we improving, teaching, learning, taking into some sort of training those smooth muscles while doing Soffietti? We will see. Then, in the back of the mouth, we have the pharynx. The pharynx, if you go to the short, so you will find the constrictors. The constrictors, they do what? They contract to swallow. While you swallow, the larynx comes up, the epiglottis closes the passage, and you don't have phonation. But when they constrict, they only close. It is a continuum of function. What it means? When in the swallowing, here you don't have phonation. Before, with this action of constriction, are you going to have phonation? When you start having phonation. What characteristics are of the phonations while you're using those constrictors? Ask your still colleagues or singers. Why I'm telling you that? Because if you want to be serious and we want to start understanding what we are doing, how to develop and how to train, we have to know how we change the state of the system from an understanding, skillful point of view. Yes, of course, okay, and it's one part. And this, usually for you, it's clear. I learn, I understand, I start doing, okay, but in the learning process and also in the objective process of the stimuli that we can give to the system, what are we doing? And I cite back a very important article that you find here, on which it is specified the characteristics of the change in the tissues of the eccentric work. Nizovatol's guy had the effects of the movement into the range of motion on blood flow and synovial fluid. All those things are going to change the state of the system. Meaning, if you have into your joints more synovial fluid, you will change the regeneration of your cartilages. You will change the density, the strength, the size of your tendons. You're going to change the fascia. You're going to change the capacity of the muscles, the fiber, the kind of fiber. But this is quite evident for you. What is less evident is that when those changes occur, they will remain if you give the correct stimuli for some precise kind of load, positions, times, periods of recovery. Does it happen also into your pharynx? It is skeletal muscles. It is skeletal muscles. Second, the pharynx, it is opened by the neck muscles. And the neck muscles, they can be trained, untrained, or dysfunctional or functional. You can have asymmetries. You can understand all you want about your neck muscles. You're not going to activate by the will, by the understanding those muscles. Because, for example, one of the things that I wrote in one of my posters for Philadelphia last year was that, for example, you have the activation of some neck muscles, pretty important for us because they activate immediately and they change the state of the pharynx with the hips while running or jumping. You put some resistance jumping or running. And I made, in my practice, and I've always made, some exercises with the feet and with the hips in a unilateral way, meaning one side and then one side and one side and then one side. And we had what? Immediate or very fast effects and lasting effects in the longer term on voice production. So I want you to realize something that I have the idea you don't realize yet, but it's quite under your eyes, is that if you look at the shorts of the last year of the anatomical system, you have to think the voice is really done by that, as the car. So can we change the state of the different anatomical parts making the voice to have them more adaptive toward a better functional voice? That is one thing. But second, to what kind of style or adaptations and rhythms we want. Yes, and it has been yet done. How, where, when? The national schools of singing, still, which use the constrictors. And it is very brilliant in the training of the constrictors. And a little bit of the other systems. Here is a still, but canto where it is. Somewhere else, no, it is straight line on the opposite. As still, you work in the pharynx and on the constrictors and on the articulators. Bel canto, you work on the musculoskeletal system, on the lung system, Soffietti. You never work in the throat, Italian bel canto. American style of classical that has interpreted and taken bel canto, it is here in the middle. It is a more still, if you want, version of Italian bel canto. It has been yet done. What lacks, in my view, and in your vision usually, that you look at this from a biological, objective point of view. And it is, okay, so when I do a still for style, and when I do a still for functionality, if you are in Italian bel canto stuck and you want to become more American style, meaning appropriated for some kind of repertoire where you want more capacity into the words and into what the sustain become belting, because this they've done. Brilliant Americans, brilliant Italians and brilliant Americans. The sustain with more constrictors, well done, and I will always say well done, means American style, and it becomes the belting. So it's enough you put the lungs and the constrictor? No, because you are forgetting the collaboration and contributions of the other system. The constrictors without the neck, also meaning without the hips, doesn't come, in my experience, so well. Why? Because if the system is done by many other anatomical systems, you have to train and take care of all. Because if your muscles become stronger to do something, the system that was well regulated when those muscles were not so developed in their function will prevaricate into the synthesis of your voice. So when you do just a style and you don't think about the instrument, you're doing that. You have a car, you don't maintain it, you don't upgrade it, but you pretend to become better as a driver, and then the car makes you win. The car, you have to do some things, because it has to catch, if it can, in its tissues, all those kind of things. Second part of today. So the thing is, the ingredients of the voice, yeah, the real ingredients. Can we work separately? A bit yes, never completely, yeah, that's it. Can we work enough separately so that we can catch up if one system was less developed or less adaptive to what we are developing in the others? This is the knowledge of tomorrow. I am in the knowledge of tomorrow for the musculoskeletal system into the functions, meaning into the synthesis of the function. In this, it's really my specificity. In the others, I have some ideas because we cannot isolate always, or we cannot isolate really, so we must know a bit of everything to be a good coach, a good trainer, a good voice teacher, but I'm specific on that. On the others, they're doing some things very, very fantastic for the isolation of the larynx, as they've done in the last 30 years of phoniatrics, not that much into the integration of the model by thinking in those biological terms. And in there we have some holes in vision, okay? And into the practices, because I have the idea that the practices do not see where they relate one to the other, to the upgraded model that is more realistic in my vision. Last point for today. How we change and what we have to change. When you tell me that you get more skillful, you tell me as if changing and learning was a linear, a line, progressive like that. I showed you the other season sometimes that the great Eric Cressing that I admire and I respect so much as some others, said brilliantly, made a picture in which at the end you have the line, but the line is made of many other lines coming quite in a messy way. I suggest you to think in those terms, otherwise it becomes really, it's a bit of whatever. No, it's absolutely not whatever. Let's think about that. Where you are, it's a point of homeostasis. And if you don't remember what is homeostasis, you go in the episode, you have the short for that. The homeostasis is the system that remains a bit there into balance. It is its set point. When you want to, in your homeostasis, get where? When you get better, you change. Think like that. You're changing your homeostasis. You're not here anymore. You're there. Okay? Don't think, because it's not true. It was some bad way of thinking of the last century. Not realistic. Not true. Not useful. It was one of the 50% things that I had wrong. As Dr. Lustig said. He said that for medical school. They told us 100%, they teach that 100% of things, telling us that the 50% was correct and the other 50% was not correct, but they did not know. They did not know which one. Okay, now I'm correcting a 10% perhaps. No, I'm too ambitious. Perhaps a 5% of this 50%. On this, it is not that you remain the same and you get better. No, it's not true. You change yourself to maintain what you wanted good and have a set point of your homeostasis, which is your new balance, it's your new you, it's your new structure, with the tissues more favorable, with the tone of the muscles more favorable, with the tone of your neck more favorable, so that you don't have to, so they can not only appropriately do what they have, but you're not all the time straining those to have at least enough of pharynx opening to have the voice. No, they are toned. You have yet the set point correct. You have changed the homeostasis. How we change the homeostasis? The homeostasis means it doesn't want to change. It resists to change because it thinks that the set point it's here. It's not what you want. It is what it is. But we are smart. We are very smart beings. So what we have learned, that homeostasis works as all our system by negative feedback. Means that it's not you go there and it remains there. If you give a stressor to get there, the system will say, oh, we are out of balance. It will not say we go less there. No, it will activate everything that brings you back. And it's not something you choose, the pushback. It happens. But what we have strategies to make the pushback and the sum of you pushing the homeostasis positive as a result. So get there, you have to push back. If you don't use those strategies, you get back exactly where you were. And usually it is reinforced from a cognitive level. But if you use the strategies, you went there, and you do some things so that the pushback brings you back here. Okay? You can do that and have the pushbacks, or you can give hormetic stressors, which are pushbacks that you don't want, in the measure to activate some survival mechanism. There are bad stressors. Well, we can do that for a little time, little periods, when we say we have to be a little tough. No, we have to be a little uncomfortable because the hormetic stress will change directly. The effect will be to activate the homeostasis to get there. So you don't have the system that wants to get back because it detected that you were out of balance, is detecting that he needs to have a survival balance that is in the direction that you want. I will let you meditate on that.